shaking up the 2026 NFL Draft board. Week 6 of college football had breakout performances and some shocking stumbles that we have to talk about next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's a director of scouting with the Draft Network in 2019, national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. If you are an everydayer, you know what Monday means after the Saturday of college football. Is money makers stock up, bag fumblers stock down, and Coach K, Coach DP will go into the locker room and hand out our game balls of the week. But before we get into that, this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Money makers, Keith. That's those guys who improved their stock after week six of college football. Keith, it was one of the more contested or highly competitive games, and the game ended up being a 1-point finish, and that was TCU versus Baylor. Michael Trigg, and it feels like you've been waiting for a long time for Michael Trigg to really have that breakout season. Where was he at? Was he at USC first and then went to
it was a
Miss?
combination of USC and Ole Miss. Yep.
Okay, so I thought so. Like USC, Ole Miss, and then I think he's been at Baylor with maybe the last 2 years or something like that. And he balled out in this game, right? They won the game 35-34, going up against Kansas State. And Michael Trigg, and the star receiver for Baylor, Josh Cameron, had a solid game, but Michael Trigg was the star of the show. 8 catches on 13 targets, 155 yards receiving. He had 2 big explosive plays. We made outstanding grabs in congestion and in traffic. This is, again, in this tight end class where there's a lot of talent, but outside of Kenyon Sadiq, you got Max Clare at Ohio State, and Ohio State just doesn't throw the ball to their tight ends. And you got
Georgia,
Cardinal Tate cooking and Jeremiah Smith. Same thing with Georgia. It's, Texas situation. You got Jack injuries, but you got a lot of receivers there as well, right? So Michael Trigg being able to take the step he's taken this year, man, I think he's helped himself a lot, Keith.
Yeah, no, and it's about consistency, right? And this is a guy that has been on the radar for quite a few years, and maybe we thought he was gonna come out last year or things like that. It just hasn't, I guess, pulled the trigger, right? No pun intended. But yeah, I agree with you. Just having that dominant game against Kansas State, showing up. This is a big body guy. This is a jump ball football player. This is a red zone target for a lot of teams. So he definitely is a stock up guy. And like you said, in the tight end class, we're searching for production. We get some consistency. We're not asking for 100-yard games. We just asking for 5 catches and 50 yards consistently, right?
I'll take it.
We're not getting any of it, so we'll see on that front. DP, I'm gonna go to the showdown, man. I'm gonna go to the showdown, the battle for Florida, right? Florida State versus Miami. I'm gonna go with Miami wide receiver CJ Daniels, who's having a great bounce back year. For everybody, just to kind of give the history, this young man was at Liberty, left Liberty to go to LSU. At LSU, didn't have any receiving touchdowns last year, right? And then he came into transfer to Miami, and I think thus far he already has 4 or 5 receiving 5 on the season, but he had 2 big time touchdowns. And for me, DP, this game came down to, I was more concerned actually about Miami's offense and how would they execute, because I thought that Tommy Castellanos would be able to at least run the football, right? To be able to put up 20, 25 points. I was like, what version of Carson Beck are we going to get at the end of the day? So I look at it and I say, hey, CJ Daniels, he's playing his ass off.
But nah, Keith, I'm glad you called out CJ Daniels, 6'2", 205. And for most people, they remember the Notre Dame catch week 1, where I don't know what Carson Beck was thinking when he made the throw, but CJ Daniels went up with the Odell Beckham, just one hand, just grab and bodies around him, snatched the ball out of the air, prevented it from being a turnover and stuff like that. Like he showcases the ball skills. And this is a guy like I remember, if you remember, I was kind of hype about him going to LSU because I was like, I like what I saw at Liberty, and he was catching the ball from Caden Salter, I believe, at the time. And I was like, man, going to play with Nuss, and it didn't like materialize into, like you said, the touchdowns and the statistics and everything. But now with him and I think it's a true freshman, number 10, I think the slot receiver from Miami, those are the top targets. Like this, top 2 targets for
Tony is his last name.
Tony. Like those, Carson Beck trusts both of those guys, man. So I think CJ Daniels definitely making him some money. Keith, I go to I would go to an edge rusher here, and that is David Bailey from Texas Tech. And like I said, Texas Tech. I listen over at Bleacher Report. I do not just scouting, but I also do video content. College football content. And I talked about like when the first preseason polls came out, I was like, I think Texas Tech's a little bit too low, guys. This team is good, and they went in. They used some of that oil money, some of that Texas money. They went and got them some defense, right? And you look at the pass rush and what we saw, just in this game against Houston. David Bailey walked out of this game with 2 sacks, 3 QB hits, and 6 pressures. He had a pass rush win rate of 28.3 or 47.8. I'm sorry, and on true dropback sets, it went to 61.5%. This dude gets after the quarterback, and you go back to that game against against Utah. He was giving Caleb Lemieux and Spencer Fano issues. He's got the dip and bend. He's got the inside counters. He's got the hip fluidity. This guy just knows how to get after the quarterback. I want to see better aesthetics from him visually because I don't think he wears any elbow pads, no turf tape, no gloves, nothing. It's just bare arms and hands, and he might just be a savage like that, Keith.
So you're trying to upgrade the swag, DP.
Yeah, I'm trying to upgrade the swag, dog. You have 4 sacks in the game. I want people to see you decked out in swag. Like he's just out there just full-blown just savage mode. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love that too, Keith. So I think this is a guy that's like in this edge rush group. Again, we got a lot of the big guys, the Keldrick Fox, the Mateo Uyunglele's, Ruben Baines, those bigger body guys. R. Mason Thomas, David Bailey, those guys, that fastball, that's what these guys bring off the edge.
Yep, no, I agree. And I say this, DP, with David Bailey, he's a guy that, talking about stock up, but it's like you start to wonder how high can it go, right? Yeah. Just with this class and like just a true pass rush artist.
Maybe first round, if somebody can, an odd front team that wants that outside stand-up rusher, he might be a first-round pick.
Yeah, how good is Texas Tech, right? Like, is this a potential playoff team, and then he gets a matchup with one of these talented teams? Like, does he get opportunity to go against a Oregon, right, in the playoffs, or one of these teams?
Isaiah World.
Or maybe a Ole Miss would be a good matchup for him, right? Things like that. So
Bama, you get Caden Proctor one-on-one, and let's see if you can handle that type of situation.
Yep, I agree with DP. Let's do this.
Oh, wait, real quick. I got one more. This guy we both like. You put him in your first round, your mock, I think maybe once or twice. Chris Bell. Guys, if you are not accustomed to what Chris Bell is doing over at Louisville, you need to get caught up on game. All right, get caught up on game.
Double down on him. I'm glad you brought him up because I didn't.
I had to, Keith. I had to. But back-to-back games over 130 yards receiving against Virginia. Virginia ended up winning that game, but he was back-to-back weeks of 14 targets. He's been targeted 28 times over the last 2 games with 22 receptions, Keith. He had 14 targets, 12 catches, 170 yards, 14 yards per catch, and 2 receiving touchdowns. 6'2", 220, height, weight, speed prospect. Good. He can run routes as well for a bigger body guy. Like, I think his hands are starting to come along. He can consistently get better, becoming more of a natural hands catcher. But yeah, guys, if you're not hit the game, I'm telling you, this is a guy. We put you on Xavier Legette a couple years ago. We put you on Matthew Golden last year. Jalen Watt. Listen, all we do is speak facts here on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. That's all I know.
We are truth tellers when it comes to the film evaluation, man. But DP, listen, in order to tell the truth, you got to tell the whole story, right? And so we talked about the good side of college football. Let's talk about the bad side. What couple prospects, man, lost themselves some money that are on a stock downtrend. We're going to talk about those guys coming up next.
This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that become an extension of home. Whether it's the sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrives, the whole neighborhood thrives. And Square is a big part of that, and you should be as well. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/locked on NFL to learn more. But before you do that, go support your favorite neighborhood spots. They'll be glad you came. You'll be happy you did it. Square, see you in the neighborhood. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than simply put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and they keep moving the game forward. And this week's moment that moved the game forward happened when TCU played Baylor, and Baylor's star tight end, Michael Trigg, had the game of his year. 13 targets, 8 receptions, 155 yards receiving. He kept his team, his offense moving forward with big play after big play down the field, putting them in scoring position, and they won this game by a single point. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. What goes up, Keith, must come down, and that's where our back fumblers come into play. They'll stock down prospects, man. And I go to the big game in the SEC, that Bama Vanderbilt game that got out of hand after a while. And I go to Eli Stowers, the tight end that we were really excited about this year. And I was expecting him to be a big difference maker in this game against those linebackers. Try to get him up against those safeties, test Bray Hubbard that we talked about on Friday show a little bit. Stowers was targeted 7 times, 3 catches, 22 yards, and he had 2 drops. And the thing that concerned me the most, Keith, when I was watching the film back, it was not just the drops. Bama played physical in this game. And I think it was I don't think it was the comments of Diego Pavia. Bama said, we're not about to let 2 quarterbacks talk trash before the game and get away with it. Like, Thomas Castellanos got the dub, so it's like, well, tip the cap. You tip your cap to him, it was whatever. Diego Pavia said, if we play our game, it won't be close. Brother, that's a lot to say in just a couple words. You know what I mean? Against Bama, like, it won't be close. And that defense came out, and they were physical. And that's the thing that concerned me with Eli, is that when those guys were meeting him when the ball arrived, and they were hitting him as the ball arrived, he dropped passes and he couldn't make those tough physical catches. And at the end of the day, that's what it is in the league. If you're running that over route and they show too high, but they're rotating the cover one, that safety works down, you might get blasted. You got to keep the ball. You got to hold on to it and make that tough physical catch. Or if you're just dealing with linebackers, guys getting handsy in the middle of the routes, can you play through physicality? He looks like a big slot, but he also plays like a big slot. That he doesn't really want contact. So stock down for me. He fumbled the bag. 22 yards, against Bama. You can't have it.
Yeah, and where I go with Eli is to your point of the big slot, right? And I was going to kind of bring this up, is that you don't want to kind of become a tweener, right? And meaning the Eli Stowers, the Johnny Wilsons of the world, right? To where it's like, okay, are you playing tight end or are you playing wide receiver, right? And then if you're wide receiver, do you have the speed and agility and quickness to win consistently as a wide receiver? If you're playing tight end, you have to be able to catch the ball in contested situations. That's one thing, and this is just a scouting tip or just evaluation note, right? That's what I look for in tight ends, right? Can you make catches in contested areas? You're always you're literally in the middle of the field, right? So everybody is around you. So can you make catches consistently? And I think that's the one thing with Eli that he's going to have to prove, so he doesn't get thrown into the bucket of being basically a pseudo big wide receiver, right? And I think that's the difference between when we have tight end prospects like Evan Ingram's, or we get into the George Kittles of the world, right? Like the difference between being good and being great is those guys that play in the middle of the field and they're kind of willing to risk it all to put their body on the line to come out with a tough catch in a contested situation.
No, 100%. I think I think you put it perfectly. You don't want to be a tweener. Like, you know what I mean? It's hard to say because it's like it's cool to be a tweener if you're good at both. You know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, like I got a tight end that can dominate between them, like a Travis Kelce, like a Gronk, like all those guys. George Kittle, you can dominate the line of scrimmage as a blocker. You can dominate the middle of the field. And then it's like, you know what? Just to put a little cherry on top, I can flex you out, get you and create mismatches. But when you like, I felt like he's not a great blocker. And then the lack of being able to play through physicality in that game, to me, it just felt like that because it was a play, I think maybe on the first drive. Diego Pavia ran like a 40-yard, like 30-40-yard QB keeper. I think the next play was the first target or so to Eli Stowers, and he got blew up. Like they hit him. And I was like, I don't like the body language. I'm like, he ain't like that hit. I was like, and it wasn't like he didn't like the hit. Like, oh, okay, it's that type of time we on, and he just adjusts. It was a kind of a, oh, these boys out here hitting. Like, all right, I don't know if I'm ready for this smoke. And I was just like, I kind of watched the body language. I was like, and he dropped the ball. I was like, dang, that's one you got to catch. That's one you got to grab. It's the first down, and you keep the momentum going after that big play. But talented young man. But you got to figure out what you're gonna do with him in the NFL.
Yeah, DP. I'm gonna go with two guys, man, and both of them are quarterbacks. I'm gonna go with Drew Aller first, and he didn't play a bad game. He played a decent game, right? Like he got his legs involved some, but just losing to UCLA, and I think what I didn't see, DP, and I'm coming really close to feeling like I have a complete evaluation and kind of done right with where I'm at with this is that the takeover factor, right? Like when were you just going to flat out take over the football game and make enough plays that need to be, that had to be made? So I'm gonna mention Drew Aller, but I didn't want to spend much time on that. I want to go to Tommy Castellanos. And the reason I say stock down is because I think we're seeing what the cap is on him as a passer. And there's a clear cap. And I think if you go back and rewatch this Miami game and even kind of the Virginia game too, is that when he isn't able to make things happen with his legs, this offense sputters, right? And honestly, he makes questionable decisions with the football when he throws the football sometimes. Like he's a double covered guy, right? He would throw it in double and triple coverage and let it figure out what's going to happen. So I took the Virginia game in stride, right? And I was just like, okay, well, everybody has ups and downs, right? Highs and lows throughout the season. But this game, in my opinion, DP was a follow-up. And like I told you, walking into this, I was like, okay, cool. Florida State should be able to get something going offensively. If you look at the box score at the end of the game, I think it was 28-22. This game wasn't that close, right? At some point, Miami started playing to kind of not to lose the game, right? Prevent defense and, playing soft shells, things like that. And then Florida State just kept being aggressive to make this game close. I think it was 28-9 or something like that at one point. It wasn't a close game. So I go with Tommy Castellanos, just stock down, not on as an NFL player, because I think he'll make it to the NFL. But will he play quarterback will be the conversation. So definitely had to go stock down with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, that was something I pay attention to him. He's played well this year, but like you said, I think those true drop back situations where you got to sit in the pocket, diagnose what's going on, go through your progressions and trust the protection. Like he just has a very quick trigger to get out the pocket. Like his legs are, it's a gift and a curse. I think we all dual threat quarterbacks. It's like, well, yeah, I want to sit in the pocket. They want me to sit in the pocket. But in the back of my mind, if I feel and sense something, I'm out of here. Like it just is what it is. But what makes you a great dual threat is knowing when to use your legs and when to escape the pocket, things like that. He's more comfortable using his legs than he is using his arm. And he did have a really good throw too in that game. He was rolling to his right, to his left, squared his shoulders and whipped it back across the field, across his body to I think a receiver coming back across the field. Great throw. But I was just like, in structure, I mean, he's listed like 5'10". Like, so I feel like there's some visual issues trying to find pockets to throw into or lanes to throw from the pocket. I don't know, Keith. Like I think
it's with him, it's almost like hitting the randomize button, right? Like when you're trying to pick a team, you don't know what like that's how it is for passing play. Like it could be really good, and you'd be like, man, that was a really great process, or it could be that wasn't great, or it could be,
yep.
man, that was an explosive play. Like like it varies a lot. So I just, as I thought he potentially could have been creeping up, right? Because Florida State was winning, but also he was making plays. You have to look at what is his baseline, right? And you look at his season totals. I think he's sitting around somewhere around 60% completion percentage, and even passing touch. Like even in the Bama upset, right? I don't think he had any passing touchdowns. I don't think he had an interception either, but I think he went 0-0, right? Like no passing touchdowns. Yeah. So just have to continue to evaluate him. But I would say stock kind of trend down just a little bit this week. And want to see him develop as a passer. But DP, I hope you got your hat and whistle and you're ready to rock and roll, man. We are about to hand out the game balls. We're jumping in the locker room, putting our hat and whistles on. We are passing out the game balls for the draft prospect that had the biggest impact on their team winning. We'll talk about that coming up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL season is here and in full swing, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if you win. That's right, you heard me correct. Pick a bet. Put down $5, $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use freely across the app. And I'm talking about being able to use it on player props, building your same game parlay, or even jumping into the live game action as it unfolds. So why miss out on a deal like this? Well, you shouldn't. So my question to you is, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app right now, today, and get started. Again, visit FanDuel.com today, right now, to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shop, for being our everydayers. Coach K, Coach DP, handing out the game balls for those prospects coming off of week 6 of college football. Keith, you talked about the Penn State UCLA game, and you talked about Drew Allen a little bit. Well, my game ball goes to the quarterback that was across the field, and that is Nico Iamaleava. Nico Iamaleava completed almost 71% of his passes. He had 166 yards passing, but he also added 128 yards rushing off of 16 carries and 5 total touchdowns. He had 2 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns. You use the phrase takeover, Keith, and that's something that we consistently wonder. And I was sitting there watching the end of that game, and don't get me wrong, is it all on Drew Allen? No, that offensive coordinator owns some blame, but then I look at Drew and I'm like, Drew, like I think it was just like they had like a couple seconds left, maybe like 20 seconds left or something like that. And it's like, bro, if you throw the ball down the field, like, and you get out of bounds, you put yourself in position to get in field goal range. The first throw he threw it like a check down for like 2 yards, and I was just like, yep, I'm out. Like, I'm out. Like, I don't know. What are we doing here? Like, I was like, then he airmailed another one. And I was like, yeah, you don't take over games. No matter how physically talented you are, you don't take over games. Nico Iamaleava took that game over. And they fired the previous head coach, the old play call. Like, they got rid of all those guys, put the interim guys in, and he looked like a totally different player, right? He looked like the guy that people wanted to see at Tennessee, using his legs, using his arm. Nico Iamaleava, absolutely. They got their first win. Penn State's lost back-to-back games. Like,
I think in his first
that's
time,
the gut punch.
Yeah, and that was their first time losing back-to-back games. It was some crazy stat. Like a lot of years losing back-to-back games. So, yeah, just a tough loss. And DP, we will have to hop into the same locker room. Nico Iamaleava going to walk away with 2 game balls because I was giving a game ball too, DP. And one thing that he potentially needs to unlock and utilize is his legs. I think he is more of a dual threat quarterback than what he wants to believe and what the coaching staff wants to believe about him. And he needs to take a page out of Marcus Mariota's handbook and not other people's, right? Like look at what Marcus Mariota did, being able to run the football, right, from spread sets, and then being able to complete some passes here and there and things like that. And that's not a knock on Marcus Mariota. He's a Heisman winner, right? Like one of the better quarterbacks we've seen in college football over the past decade. It's just, I think Nico needs to use his legs. I think he felt comfortable because there was a lot of cold runs. I think he went over 100 yards rushing, right? In this game.
I think 120, something like that.
Yeah, so I agree with you. DP, the other guy I'm gonna go with, there's kind of a little under the radar matchup, and it wound up tilting one team over the other, is the Texas A&M versus Mississippi State, and I'm gonna go with running back Ruben Owens. I thought he played well, and he kind of was the locomotive. Like this offense with Marcel Reed, the passing offense was struggling, right? Like the first half, I think it was one big play to KC Concepcion, to where he made a big time play with throw down the field. And then the rest of it, I think once they got up, they played some defense, and then they was able to run the football. And seeing Ruben Owens kind of take over, I believe he had 142 yards rushing, kind of take command of that backfield and like give Texas A&M a kind of recipe for winning, right? Like, are we going to play tough defense and run the football, and then let Marcel Reed make a play with his arm and legs every now and then, just do what needs to be done.
Yeah, no, that was his first like real breakout game of the season. Le'Veon Moss struggled in this game, and Ruben Owens came in and it was kind of reversed, the same script last game. Le'Veon Moss had 150 yards rushing, and because Marcel Reed is just, he struggles to find that consistency throwing the football with accuracy and things of that nature. Even though he's got from I think you're talking about KC Concepcion. He's got another young receiver, Mario Craver, who's a stud. Like, they got players, you know what I mean, and things like that. If Marcel Reed can figure out that balance as a passer, this is a team that could absolutely win the SEC and be a full-blown problem in the CFP. Because now that they figure out that we can be physical and run the ball with both our backs, shout out to the coaching staff too, Mike Elko, riding with the hot hand. Instead of trying to, if you see that Le'Veon Moss is struggling, instead of trying to give him 25 carries and he's averaging 2 yards a touch, no, let's put Ruben Owens in, who I believe is like a 4 or 5 star recruit, and let's see what he can do, right? And then he's out there toting and carrying the offense. So shout out to them, man. They got a two-headed attack in that backfield, or 3 when you count the legs of Marcel Reed, because he's a dynamic runner as well. They got a 3-headed monster in that backfield, man. If they can figure out that passing attack, this is a team you absolutely got to worry about. Because Cassius Howell, you give your defense a couple point lead, you let that guy free off the edge and just tell him pin his ears back.
Yeah, and that's what you're seeing them do Saturday night, right? They got up, they was able to get the lead, and then they kind of just turned over and said,
like 3 sacks. That's his second 3-sack game of the season.
Yeah. And it seems that when he locks in and he's unblockable, right? So definitely want to unleash that young man and let him do what he's going to do. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about our quarterbacks of the week. We're talking quarterbacks all show, guys. Quarterbacks of the week, those stock rising performances, those stock falling performances, all that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.